Alrighty, let's give an update as to what all we got going here. All the various car stuff. Give you a full tour. Holy bonkers, it's hot in here. Full tour, inside, outside, upside down in the car from what we got going on currently. So let's start here under the hood. We got work in progress. Got some gas struts that I'm putting in, but this version I don't have the correct Camry hood. So there's a version of the Camry that's got hood struts, and it has a mounting location for it right here. It's a little bump out in the metal that you can rivet to. But this car doesn't have it, so I need to get some riv nuts to put in there because the sheet metal's too thin, and when you drill and tap sheet metal, it just bends and it's not pretty and doesn't work. So that's work in progress. Got our high output alternator in here. I need to do a diode mod on it to get it outputting higher voltage, but plenty of amps, putting the higher voltage out of it to go with my lithium batteries. These are Nissan Leaf battery modules, so I've got two of them in parallel, and then each pack is in series. So you can see how that's wired up there. Two in parallel, whole thing in series. And that does fantastic. I can't charge it at the full 16 volts, but it's okay that they're not ever fully charged. It's just like running your phone between like 50 and 75% battery all the time. It's not harmful at all. Let's see. I've got a little tiny light bar in the front here. I mean, that thing's freaking tiny, but it's cute. I've got that wired up. All my wires run nicely in a nice sheath here. So I've got distribution block for having my breakers, and then my various wires and whatnot running from under the hood to inside the car. So if I want to add on in the future, I can do that nice and easy. That's all on this board that can be removed if I need to access anything. It's easy accessible, good stuff there. We've got all of our door panels and stuff out so that I could get it all sound deadened. So we've got, you can see some of the old matte and the new Second Skin Amplifier Pro, which does a lot better than the old stuff. We've got mass loaded vinyl layer put in. We've got under the hood here. So these are under the car, under the dash. So we've got those wires that are coming from where I showed you. We've got a breaker box here that I assembled, so I can add relays and fuses for stuff under the hood without having to run individual wires for it. We're working on putting in the security system, and so I've got a Soundstream Tarantula freaking whatever it is, remote start and alarm system I'm putting in, and I'm mounting it to the cruise control module because that goes up under the dash and is nice and out of the way and accessible if I need it. So that's a lot of fun. So we got all the wires running for that. Had to tap in and hot wire the car, and lots of wires, but once you simplify it down, it's really not too bad. You get this whole connector of all these wires, but when you simplify it down to what you need, it's really, I mean, there's 3 wires that I'm using out of it, and the other 3 are to be used in the future for accessory outputs and stuff. We got it all torn apart under here for my HVAC. We're insulating it up with some heat shield material, and making sure all of our wiring, this is all the wiring for my buttons and switches up here, so we're got all that wiring insulated. Big cluster nut of cables and stuff there, but we'll get that sorted out. Similar story in the back here. We took the door panels off, sound deadened it. Sound deadened the doors with the Amplifier Pro, and we got mass loaded vinyl. The trunk is all sorts of empty. I mean, it's full of crap right now, but it doesn't have a stereo system in it. It's just the parts from the inside of the car that are all torn out. So there's no trunk in there right now. I swapped some of my tail lights for LEDs and stuff, so that's cool. If we come around to underneath the car here, we've got some cool news and not cool news. You know, most of my wires and stuff are doing fine under here, but this ground cable completely shit itself. This is only 3 or 4 years old, 2 or 3 years old, and it completely rotted away, oxidized to bits. So I'm gonna have to replace that ground wire that runs over here to a bolt, and it's done. So that's unfortunate. The aught gauge that I have here that runs, oh, where does it run? Oh, that's my aught gauge positive. So my aught gauge positive runs all the way to the front and hasn't seemed to have any issues yet. My 4 gauge ground, which is this here, hasn't had any issues, and neither has this. This has been in here for 4 or 5 years, and this hasn't had any issues either. So I'm not sure why this particular run disintegrated, but that is why it's important to have your wires shielded and protected, because you don't want them to oxidize and die on you like that. We've got, let's see, I've got an exhaust leak. I've got some rust here that I need to take care of. I touched up all the other spots that I had rust on my car last year and didn't do the greatest job of painting it, so you can see where my overspray is peeling off and whatnot, but I fixed most of the rust spots. My hood, you can probably see where the garbage paint job was because I sanded it. I didn't sand it enough, and we've got some more rust spots coming through here, so I need to fix that. But I think we're pretty much up to date on things, question mark. Let's see. I've used some of this filter fabric and made my own filter for the HVAC, because the stock fan there's no location for a cabin filter on the Camry. So it just pulls air from up under the engine compartment and pulls it in from, you know, recirculating in the cabin, and doesn't filter at all. And there was no spot for a filter, so I made my own dang filter. So we've got that loveliness, and yeah, I got a whole box of project stuff that's gonna be projected and done eventually. We got some more lights and fuse blocks, and this box isn't really as interesting as the stuff underneath of it. And we've got, let's see, got another inverter, and we've got heated seats and heated mirrors, and another inverter, some more breakers, a Raspberry Pi, and some Arduino stuff, as well as a battery charger that I want to get all wired up eventually. We got a bajillion projects. We're working on it slowly, but we're doing the dang thing. So I have no idea when it'll all be done. Couldn't be done soon enough. So that's what we got going on. When I repainted this several years ago, I cleaned it all up real nice, but I didn't like sand it or anything, so the paint didn't adhere to it very well. So that's unfortunate. But I don't know if I'll ever repaint that or not. We'll see. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna get back to work here then, I guess.